The icy wind whipped across Proxima's desolate landscape, biting at exposed skin with needles of frozen dust. 6-year-old Reese huddled deeper into the rusting shell of a discarded cargo container, holding a shivering ball of fur close to his heart. "It's all right, Felix," he whispered, his breath misting in the frigid air. "We'll find something to eat soon." His stomach growled in protest, a stark reminder that his last meal, scavenged nutrient packs from the colony's waste disposal, was a distant memory. Felix, his fox-like companion, looked up at him with intelligent eyes, its surrey-like tail wrapped around Reese's wrist. Felix's fur, unlike that of earth animals, shifted color with its mood, currently a pale blue mirroring Reese's own growing despair. A shadow fell across the container's entrance, blocking out the scant light. Reese froze, pulling Felix closer. He knew Proxima's streets were ruled by those strong enough to take what they wanted. Well, a voice purred, resonating with a power that wasn't brute force, but something more profound, like the hum of the colony's fusion core. A woman stepped inside, her silhouette framed by the planet's perpetual aurora. As she drew closer, Reese caught his breath. Her beauty was unearthly, energy rippling around her like heat waves. A child of Earth, she observed, studying him. So far from home. Reese remained silent, his grip on Felix tightening. Felix, sensing his fear, shifted to a defensive orange. "You're hungry," the woman stated, producing a sealed ration pack as if from thin air. The sight of it made Reese's mouth water. "It could be yours, little one," she offered, "for a small favor." She gestured towards the market square visible through the container's opening. "The merchant there, the one with the expensive thermal scarves. Take one, and this is yours." Reese's gaze flickered between the woman and the food. His stomach urged him to accept, but a deeper instinct, his mother's voice echoing in his memory, held him back. "No," he managed, his voice hoarse. "Thank you, but no." The woman's expression remained unchanged, but something flickered in her eyes. Perhaps a different arrangement then. She produced a second ration pack. "Both of these, and warm shelter, if you release that creature. Its suffering is evident. A swift release would be an act of kindness." Horror washed over Reese. Felix whimpered, sensing his distress. "Never," Reese spat, surprising himself with his vehemence. "He trusts me. He's my friend." "Interesting," the woman murmured, circling them slowly, her movements fluid and predatory. "One final offer. See that elderly woman over there?" She pointed to a hunched figure struggling through the drifting snow. "A single ice shard, she's had a long life. The creature lives, you both eat, and you'll have warmth and shelter." For a moment, Reese wavered. He couldn't remember the feeling of warmth. But then Felix nuzzled his chin, its trust absolute, and Reese found his resolve. "We'll die first," he declared, meeting her gaze. "At least we'll die knowing we didn't hurt anyone." Silence stretched between them, broken only by the wind. Then, unexpectedly, the woman smiled. The expression transformed her face, making her almost maternal. "Well answered, child." She extended her hand, palm up. "You've carried only your given name until now. From this moment forward, you shall be Reese Cadmus." Reese stared at her hand, confused. Felix's fur shifted to a curious violet, and somehow that settled it. He placed his small hand in hers, and power surged through him like a solar flare. The cold vanished, his hunger disappeared, even Felix chirped in surprise, its fur blazing gold. What are you?" Reese managed to ask. "I am your future," she replied, helping him to his feet. "And you, Reese Cadmus, are far more than you know. You are an architect. One who shapes reality itself." To demonstrate, she touched the container wall. Rust vanished, the metal flowing like liquid until it gleamed as if new. Reese watched in wonder as she repeated the gesture towards a patch of ground where a cluster of impossible flowers bloomed through the snow. Can I learn to do that?" "That, and more." She wrapped a warm cloak around his shoulders. "But first, we must feed you both. Come, your new life begins now. The biting wind, laden with icy particles, swept across Proxima's barren landscape. 7-year-old Silas burrowed deeper into the rusted hulk of a discarded cargo pod, clutching a shivering ball of fur to his chest. "Don't worry, Pip," he murmured, his breath fogging in the freezing air. "We'll find something to eat. I promise." His stomach grumbled loudly, a painful reminder that his last meal, salvaged nutrition bars from the colony's waste disposal, felt like a lifetime ago. Pip, his fox-like friend, gazed up at him with wise eyes, its meerkat-like tail twined around Silas's wrist. Pip's fur, unlike terrestrial creatures, changed color with its emotions, currently a pale lavender that mirrored Silas's own rising desperation. A silhouette darkened the pod's entrance, obscuring the meager daylight. Silas froze, pulling Pip closer. He knew the reality of Proxima, survival belonged to the ruthless. My, a voice crooned, radiating an aura of power that wasn't physical, but something deeper, like the thrum of the colony's central reactor. A woman stepped inside, outlined by the planet's ever-present aurora. As she neared, Silas's breath hitched. Her beauty was otherworldly, energy rippling around her like waves of heat. "A child of Earth," she remarked, her eyes studying him. "So very far from home." Silas stayed silent, his grip on Pip tightening. Pip, sensing his unease, turned a wary shade of amber. "You're starving," the woman stated, conjuring a sealed food packet seemingly out of nowhere. The sight of it made Silas's mouth water. "This can be yours, young one," she offered, in exchange for a small service. She pointed towards the market square visible through the pod's opening. "The vendor there, the one with the costly thermal wraps. Acquire one, and this is yours." Silas's gaze flitted between the woman and the nourishment. His hunger urged him to agree, but a stronger instinct, a memory of his mother's cautionary words, held him back. "No," he stammered, his voice scratchy. "I appreciate it, but no." The woman's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in her depths. Perhaps a different arrangement then. She produced another food packet. "Both of these, and a place to stay warm, if you let the creature go. Its discomfort is palpable. A swift release would be a kindness." Silas felt a wave of revulsion. Pip whined, sensing his distress. "Never," Silas retorted, surprising himself with his forcefulness. "He relies on me. He's my friend." "Intriguing," the woman murmured, circling them with a slow, almost predatory grace. "One last proposition. See that elderly gentleman over there?" She indicated a stooped figure battling through the drifting snow. "A single piece of ice, his life has been long. The creature lives, you are both fed, and you have warmth and safety." Silas hesitated. The memory of warmth was a distant echo. But then Pip nuzzled his cheek, its faith in him unwavering, and Silas's conviction returned. "We'd rather die," he declared, looking into her eyes. "At least we'll die with a clear conscience." Silence hung between them, punctuated by the wind. Then, surprisingly, the woman smiled. The expression warmed her face, giving her an almost motherly appearance. "A wise answer, child." She held out her hand, palm upwards. "You've carried only your birth name until now. From this point onward, you are Silas Orion." Silas stared at her hand, bewildered. Pip's fur shifted to a curious periwinkle, and somehow, that decided him. He placed his small hand in hers, and a surge of energy coursed through him like a wave of light. The cold disappeared, his hunger faded, and Pip even chirped in surprise, its fur blazing a brilliant silver. Who are you?" Silas managed to stammer. "I am your destiny," she replied, gently helping him to his feet. "And you, Silas Orion, are far more than you realize. You are a weaver. One who shapes the very fabric of reality." To illustrate, she touched the pod's wall. The rust disappeared, the metal rippling like water until it shone as if new. Silas gaped as she repeated the motion towards a patch of barren ground, causing a cluster of otherworldly flowers to sprout through the frost. Can I do that?" That, and much more. She draped a warm cloak over his shoulders. But first, you both need sustenance. Come, your new life awaits. The icy winds continued their relentless assault on Proxima, driving frozen dust into every crevice. 8-year-old Kai shivered within the rusted shell of a discarded cargo pod, holding Lucky, his fox-like companion, close. "Easy, Lucky," he whispered, his breath clouding the frigid air. "We'll find something. We always do." But his stomach protested with a loud growl, a stark reminder that his last scavenged meal from the colony's waste processing unit was a fading memory. Lucky, whose fur mirrored his emotions, shimmered a pale azure, reflecting Kai's own growing hopelessness. The creature's meerkat-like tail curled protectively around Kai's wrist. A sudden shadow fell across the pod's opening, eclipsing the weak daylight. Kai instinctively pulled Lucky closer, his small body tensing. He knew Proxima's unforgiving streets were ruled by the strong and the ruthless. "Look what we have here," a voice purred, its power not of muscle, but something deeper, something that resonated like the hum of the colony's fusion core. A woman stepped into the pod, her silhouette outlined by the planet's perpetual aurora. As she moved closer, Kai's breath caught in his throat. Her beauty was otherworldly, energy radiating from her like heat waves. A child of Earth, she observed, her gaze intense as she studied him. Lost so far from home. Kai remained silent, his grip on Lucky tightening. The creature, sensing his fear, turned a cautious amber. "You're starving," the woman stated, producing a sealed food ration as if by magic. The sight of it made Kai's mouth water. "It's yours, little one," she offered, her voice like silk. "All I ask is a small favor." She pointed towards the market square, just visible through the pod's entrance. The vendor there, the one with the overpriced thermal cloaks. "Just acquire one, and this is yours." Kai's eyes flickered between the woman and the food. His stomach urged him to accept, but the echo of his mother's voice, warning him against taking what didn't belong to him, stayed his hand. "No," he managed, his voice hoarse. "Thank you, but I can't." The woman's expression remained unchanged, but a flicker of something unreadable crossed her eyes. A different arrangement, then. She produced a second ration pack. "Both of these, and a warm place to stay, if you'll just release that creature. Its suffering is plain to see. A quick release would be a mercy." Revulsion twisted in Kai's gut. Lucky whimpered softly, sensing his distress. "No way," Kai retorted, his voice stronger than he expected. "He trusts me. He's my family." "How intriguing," the woman murmured, her movements now slow and deliberate as she circled them. "A final proposition, then. See that elderly gentleman struggling through the snow?" She gestured towards a hunched figure battling the wind just outside the market square. A little nudge towards the ice. "He's lived a long life. The creature lives, you are fed and sheltered, and a soul is eased of its burden." For a heart-wrenching moment, Kai wavered. The memory of warmth was almost lost to him. But Lucky nuzzled his chin, its trust absolute, and Kai's resolve solidified. "We'll face whatever comes," he declared, meeting her gaze unflinchingly. "But we won't hurt anyone to get there." A long silence followed, broken only by the wind's howl. Then, to Kai's surprise, the woman smiled, her face softening into something almost maternal. "A wise choice, child," she said. She held out her hand, palm upwards. "Until now, you've only had your birth name. From this moment forward, you shall be known as Kai Caldwell." Kai stared at her outstretched hand, a storm of confusion raging inside him. Lucky's fur shifted to a curious lavender, and somehow, that was enough. He placed his small hand in hers, and power surged through him like a solar flare, banishing the cold and hunger. Even Lucky chirped in surprise, its fur now a brilliant gold. "Who are you?" Kai stammered, his voice barely a whisper. "I am your destiny," she replied, helping him to his feet. "And you, Kai Caldwell, are more than you realize. You are an architect. One who shapes reality itself. To demonstrate, she touched the rusted wall of the cargo pod. The metal rippled like water, the rust vanishing as it transformed into a gleaming surface. Kai watched, mesmerized, as she repeated the gesture towards a patch of barren ground, causing a cluster of impossible flowers to bloom in the frozen earth. The trek back to Elias's hidden dwelling, that, and much more, she replied, draping a warm cloak around his shoulders. But first, you need to eat. Come. Your new life begins now. The biting wind, a constant torment on Proxima, whipped icy dust across the desolate landscape. 9-year-old Leo huddled deeper within the corroded carcass of a discarded transport container, clutching his shivering, fur-covered friend close. "It'll be okay, Comet," he whispered, his breath fogging in the frigid air. "We'll find something. We always do." His stomach, however, rumbled in stark disagreement, a painful echo of his last meal, salvaged nutrient paste from the colony's waste recycler, now a distant memory. Comet, his fox-like companion, looked at him with knowing eyes, its meerkat-like tail wrapped tightly around Leo's wrist. Comet's fur, unlike that of Earth creatures, changed hues with its mood, currently a dull grey that mirrored Leo's own deepening despair. "How?" Leo began, then trailed off, noticing Mariah's sudden pallor. She slumped back against the seat, her breath coming in ragged gasps. "What are you?" "I am what your people call a succubus," Mariah confessed, her voice barely a whisper. "My kind, we draw sustenance from desires, from dreams. We can shape them, too, but there's a price." Leo's mind raced, recalling wartime whispers about the stellar people's abilities, rumors of strange powers, and unsettling allure. "So, back there, when it wasn't intentional," Mariah interrupted quickly. "But your desires, they are so potent, so pure. Most humans crave power, wealth, fleeting gratification. But you," she looked at him with a strange mixture of wonder and sorrow. "You desire to mend what's broken. To save those you couldn't save before." Her words struck Leo like a physical blow, bringing a flood of painful memories. His daughter's face, the burning cities, the orders that arrived too late. "Can you?" he choked out, his voice thick with emotion. "Can you show me her? My daughter?" Mariah's expression softened with compassion. "I can," she said gently. "But Leo, it won't be real. It's an echo, a fleeting image. And it will drain me, considerably." "I know," he replied, pulling the truck off the road into a small, sheltered alcove. I need to see her, one last time." Mariah studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Give me your hands." Her touch sent a jolt of energy through Leo's body, a sensation both exhilarating and unsettling. The image lasted only a few precious seconds before fading like mist. When it was gone, Mariah was barely conscious, her azure skin ashen, the vibrant glow dimmed to a faint ember. Leo caught her before she collapsed, pulling her close. Her skin felt cold, all traces of her usual warmth gone. "You shouldn't have done that," he said, his voice rough with concern. "Your exhaustion, your sacrifice, your pain," she whispered, struggling to focus on his face. "I couldn't bear it." "Why?" Leo asked, his voice choked with emotion. "Why risk yourself for my ghosts?" Instead of answering, Mariah reached up and touched his face. The truck rumbled onward, the desert a vast, unforgiving expanse under the relentless sun. The silence between Leo and Mariah was charged, the echoes of their intimate encounter still reverberating in the close confines of the cab. Leo found himself stealing glances at Mariah. The sunlight, filtering through the cracked windshield, danced across her azure skin, making it shimmer. The remnants of her torn clothing seemed a stark contrast to her ethereal beauty, a tangible reminder of the harsh reality they inhabited. "Lost in thought, General." Mariah's voice, soft yet firm, broke the silence. Leo hesitated, then replied, forcing a casual tone, just pondering whether you're going to toss me out now that things have changed. A subtle smile played on Mariah's lips. If I wanted you gone, I assure you, there are far more efficient methods at my disposal. She paused, her starlight eyes meeting his. We need to discuss my true nature. Could I learn that? That, and much, much more, she replied, draping a warm cloak around his shoulders. But for now, you both need sustenance. Come. Your new life awaits. The biting wind, a constant presence on Proxima, carried icy dust that stung exposed skin. 10-year-old Anya huddled deeper into the rusted remains of a derelict transport module, holding her shivering, fur-covered friend close. Don't you worry, Zepha, she murmured, her breath frosting in the frigid air. We'll find something. We always have. But her stomach growled loudly in protest, a stark contrast to her brave words, echoing the emptiness left by her last scavenged meal, recycled nutrient paste from the colony's waste processor. Zepha, her vulpine companion, looked at her with intelligent eyes, its meerkat-like tail wrapped tightly around Anya's wrist. Zepha's fur, unlike terrestrial animals, shifted colors with its mood, currently a somber gray that mirrored Anya's own rising desperation. A shadow abruptly fell across the module's entrance, consuming the meager daylight. Anya froze, pulling Zepha closer. She'd learned the brutal reality of Proxima, survival belonged to the ruthless. Well, a voice crooned, radiating a power that transcended mere strength, pulsating with something more profound, like the rhythmic hum of the colony's fusion reactor. A woman stepped inside, silhouetted against the planet's ever-present aurora. As she approached, Anya's heart pounded. Her beauty was otherworldly, an aura of energy shimmering around her like heat waves. A child of Earth, she observed, her gaze intense as she scrutinized her. So far from where you should be. Anya remained silent, her grip on Zepha tightening. Zepha, sensing her fear, turned a wary shade of rust. You're starving, the woman stated, conjuring a sealed ration pack as if from thin air. The sight of it sent pangs of hunger through Anya. It's yours, little one, she offered, her voice like smooth honey, for a small service. She gestured towards the market square, visible through the module's opening. The merchant with the outrageous prices for thermal blankets. Procure one, and this is yours. Anya's gaze flitted between the woman and the offered food. Her hunger gnawed at her resolve, but a deeper instinct, the memory of her grandmother's warning voice, held her back. I can't, she stammered, her voice hoarse. Thank you, but I won't. The woman's expression remained neutral, yet something unreadable flickered in her eyes. An alternative arrangement, perhaps. She produced another ration pack. Both of these, and a warm, secure place, if you will just release that creature. Its discomfort is palpable. A quick release would be a kindness. Disgust knotted in Anya's stomach. Zepha whimpered, sensing her distress. Never, Anya retorted, surprising herself with her own firmness. Zepha trusts me. He's my family. Intriguing, the woman murmured, her movement slow, predatory, as she circled them. One final proposition. See that businessman over there, preening over his data pad? She indicated a self-absorbed figure near the market square. A little distraction, causing him to drop the data pad. He has plenty more. The creature lives, you are both fed and sheltered, and he learns a lesson about attentiveness. For a moment, Anya faltered. The feeling of warmth was like a half-forgotten dream. But Zepha nuzzled against her cheek, its faith absolute, strengthening her resolve. We'll face whatever's coming, she declared, meeting her gaze. But we'll do it honestly. A long silence followed, punctuated only by the howl of the wind. Then, astonishingly, the woman smiled. The expression transformed her face, softening it into something almost maternal. "A wise choice, child," she said. She extended her hand, palm upwards. "Until now, you've only had your birth name. From this day forward, you will be known as Anya Petrova." Anya stared at her hand, a storm of confusion inside. Zepha's fur shifted to a curious shade of turquoise, and somehow, that settled it. She placed her small hand in hers, and a surge of energy flowed through her like a solar flare, banishing the cold and the gnawing hunger. Even Zepha chirped in surprise, its fur blazing a bright silver. Who are you?" Anya stammered, her voice barely audible. "I am your future," she replied, gently pulling her to her feet. "And you, Anya Petrova, hold within you a power you can't yet imagine. You are a weaver. One who shapes the very essence of reality." To demonstrate, she touched the rusted surface of the transport module. The metal flowed like water, the rust vanishing as it transformed into a gleaming surface. Anya watched, awestruck, as she repeated the gesture towards a patch of frozen earth, coaxing a cluster of unearthly flora to bloom through the frost. Is it possible to learn that?" "That, and so much more," she replied, draping a warm cloak around her shoulders. "But for now, sustenance is paramount. Come. Your new life begins now."